in telling us that they have prudently managed the economy. The much-touted fiscal consolidation has been attained on the back of a sharply cut expenditures for critical sectors, resulting in lower borrowing needs, and currency appreciation solely due to the weakening of the US dollar, which has led to preference for massive global investment in gold. Also, the debt restructuring, which we started under MPP while in government, in addition to the commodity export boom in gold and cocoa output, led to the big trade surplus which was recently announced. So since May 2023, Ghana has had a $3 billion from Ghana's IMF program, which in turn has unlocked light debt relief and financing. For example, in mid-2025, Ghana's Parliament approved a $2.8 billion restructuring deal with 25 official creditors, including China, France, the US, UK, and others. Under this agreement, all debt payments due through 2026 were rescheduled, effectively granting Ghana $2.8 billion in debt service relief it could play with in the budget. So once again, Ghana's economic fortune so far is tied to the IMF program and the windfall, not necessarily due to any re-engineering of the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me straight away zoom in to raise an issue of NDC's hypocrisy and double standards. In the 8th Parliament, when they were in opposition, they told the whole world that there was a need to pass an anti-LGBT law. Basically, they said that to protect our own culture, our religious beliefs, there's a need to pass a law that will criminalize any acts of lesbianism, gayism, etc. They were loud on the streets of Accra. They went into our villages, engaged the media, engaged religious leaders, engaged traditional rulers. 1 year down the line, they've been in office. They have gone quiet on this anti-LGBT law. We hear His Excellency the President play on words, claiming that the government was doing wider consultation to see how the law could be formulated in a better way. Really? But was it not the same law that they said it was okay to be passed? And again, when the mighty minority members decided through private members' bill to now pin them to their own principles, suddenly, after all the processes have been followed and approval given, and the motion was on the other paper, the NDC, through its majority leader, found a way of using procedure to claim that there was no such approval by the speaker and tried to scapegoat the clerk to Parliament. As we speak, they have refused, neglected, and deliberately denied the people of Ghana that anti-LGBT law that they themselves spoke about. To make matters worse, our own curriculum, they have found space to introduce this promotion of sexual rights in the curriculum of our children. When they were exposed, this is what they had to say, that it was a mistake and that an anomaly. What an anomaly. When government documents have been printed, circulated, and signed by no less a person than the sector minister, and through the vigilance of the minority, you get exposed, you now say it was an anomaly. We don't accept this. We hold a view that the NDC used the anti-LGBT law only for power. And now that they are facing the reality, they want to find a way of running away from it. we will insist that they act by their own principle. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also address the issue of gold for reserves. We are not in any way opposed to that policy because the policy was started by us. We, the minority, are again not opposed to the institutionalization of a new vehicle to see to the implementation of that all-important policy. However, we have two major concerns. Concern number one, the establishment of the Gold Board as a regulator and also an operator is in a way directly encouraging galamsey activities. Our water bodies have been polluted. In fact, organized labor last year sounded an alarm and indicated that the galamsey activities have worsened. This government has failed to provide tangible evidence of its commitment in the fight against galamsey. It is clear that they are always involved in a PR gimmick, looking at the optics rather than the substance. They are interested in short-term gains. And today, we don't know whether the Gold Board makes a distinction between regularly mined gold or an illicit gold. All we know is that they are talking about their success story, the amount of gold or the tons of gold they have purchased. Yet they fail to tell us whether or not there are measures to fight against illicit gold that are mined through galamsey activities. We are concerned because the future of this country is at stake. And the earlier this government took steps to protect the future of Ghana, the better. Second, we are also concerned about the IMF reported $240 million US as of September 2025. There seemed to be some confusion between the Gold Board and the central bank. But we want to tell the central bank, participating in the activities, being part of the feast, and when there are issues, you run away and you want to put the blame squarely at the feet of Gold Board will not wash. The IMF says that the losses came by as a result of Bank of Ghana failing to protect our funds. How can you give money to Gold Board to buy gold and they make losses because of exchange rate differences? How can you be paying fees that by law you are not entitled to pay? How can there ever be a justification that in rolling out a policy there is an economic cost? Let me remind the central bank that His Lordship, Justice Afre of blessed memory, in the Salome case, laid down the ground rules, especially the true definition of causing financial loss. The central bank must not forget this. What is happening amount to a financial loss to the state. We are also aware that respected and senior legal experts within government seem to have warned on this. It is filtered through to us. Therefore, we urge the central bank to immediately take steps to address this. Though we've become aware that there was a joint board meeting between central bank and the Gold Board as a result of the concerns raised by the minority, of which there was a conclusion that artisanal mining model should now go for 9.75 for bullion and 9.55 for unprocessed gold, which is a reduction from the previous 15%. Much as this is commendable, we still think that there are still losses that would have to be considered. We are also aware that central bank is saying that it wants to give some moratorium of 1 month to allow for further deliberations amongst the various parties, the Ministry of Finance, Gold Board, and government, on a sustainable cost-sharing structure for the program. So indeed, if the minority was merely blowing hot air, why have they now decided through joint board meeting to take steps to ensure a sustainable cost structure? We are concerned about these losses. We believe that if indeed we are going to have a goal for oil reserves, the government must take steps to sustain it by ensuring that there's real profits. The approach they have adopted will not help the country. We need money to build roads, to construct hospitals, to build schools, to create jobs. And if the central bank is going to underwrite some of these artificial losses and turn around to tell us that it's an economic cost, we regret to say that the minority will not accept this. We are open to discussions on this matter, and just as we always do, we'll put forward our views. We also want to say that we filed a motion in Parliament. We have become aware that the Speaker has admitted the motion, which would allow for broader engagement and consultation on this matter. We urge the various stakeholders in this goal for oil reserve to open up, to hear our views, so that together we can move this country forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I will proceed to state that at a recent World Economic Forum in Davos, the Canadian Prime Minister delivered a message to the global elite that they did not want to hear. He warned that the old order is not coming back. He described a new world in which major powers use tariffs, supply chains, and financial systems as open tools of pressure and control. He urged that what we call, quote, rules-based international order, unquote, has for many become an exercise in living within a lie, unquote. A system countries feel obliged to join, while privately knowing it no longer works as advertised. For a smaller economy like Ghana, this is not an abstract debate. It is a direct challenge. It means we cannot rely on comfortable stories of mutual benefit when the structures of global integration are being used as instruments of leverage. This new world demands 3 clear responses from Ghana. First, we must build a truly strong and resilient domestic economy. We need enough strategic autonomy that no outside power can bend us through debt traps, currency games, or control over one key export. Economic sovereignty cannot remain a slogan. It must become the solid foundation of an independent foreign policy. Second, we must deliberately diversify our international relationship. We must deepen ties across Africa and engage carefully with traditional partners in the United States, European Union, UK, China, Canada, and with emerging powers, without surrendering our sovereignty to any single dominant player. Third, and most important, we must root our foreign policy in the constitutional values we live by at home. A so-called pragmatic foreign policy that turns a blind eye to impunity, corruption, and injustice inside our borders is not realism. It is a performance of sovereignty that hides a quiet acceptance of dependence. We cannot project moral clarity abroad if we refuse to practice it at home. Take Ghana's ambition to mediate between ECOWAS and the Alliance of Sahel States. It is a worthy and necessary goal, and it reflects the traditional leadership role Ghana often claims. But moral authority is never something a country can simply declare. It is earned gradually through steady action at home. It rests on the integrity of a nation's own institutions. A government that tolerates opaque laws-making schemes orchestrated by the central bank, that turns prosecution into political weapon, that attacks judicial independence by unconstitutionally removing a chief justice, and that allows ongoing destruction of our rivers, is steadily destroying the very credibility it wishes to display abroad. Real sovereignty in diplomacy is built on domestic accountability. A nation earns the right to be a principled foreign policy by making its own society more resilient, transparent, and just, so that it is less vulnerable to pressure and less easily silenced. Before Ghana can credibly reconcile other nations, it must first bring its own practice into line with its proclaimed values. Our influence abroad will always be limited by the strength of our integrity at home. And by the way, we have seen that my Lord Bafuboni and his management are all over at the various ministries, including Jubilee. Is he on a thank you tour? Is my Lord Bafuboni on a thank you tour, thanking the government for appointing him as a Chief Justice? And we hear today he is coming to Parliament. We, the minority, don't see him as a tolerant head of the judiciary, because members of the minority came under attack when we criticized the processes leading to his nomination. We will therefore not be part of his thank you tour. If he wants to engage us, our offices are open. He should come and engage us, and we'll let him know things that we find wrong. Colleagues, members of the media, let me emphasize that the macroeconomic figures from last year, although real on the surface, encouraging as well, we are aware that inflation has dropped from a peak in the 20s to single digits. We are aware that government is now touting it as its own successes. But instead of welcoming, we must ask, stability for whom and at what long-term costs? Think of economic policy as a bridging connecting the state to its citizens. On one side of that bridge are the conference rooms in Accra, where ministers display tidy charts and quote IMF reports. On the other side are the markets of Efutu, the busy streets of Tamale, and the households of Takwa, where Ghanaians experience the economy not as statistics, but as struggles with food prices, utility bills, and the search for decent work. In 2025, that bridge broke. Inflation fell on paper, but the cost of a simple meal remained beyond reach for many families. Growth accelerated in the aggregate, but around 1.25 million young people were left outside employment, education, or training. A generation waiting on the margins. Macroeconomic stability improved, yet an estimated majority of water bodies are polluted, and energy sector debt still sits in the billions of dollars. This gap has a clear cost. The current stabilization rests heavily on the tight IMF conditions, new levies imposed on already burdened citizens, and continued dependence on the same narrow export of gold and cocoa. Now, instead of introducing reforms in the energy sector, they decided to impose levies. Remember that they said e-levy was bad and they were going to scrap it. They were going to outlaw it. And Ghanaians celebrated them when they repealed the e-levy. But let's look at some numbers. They took away e-levy, but utility tariffs alone, so far, we have seen an excess of 27%. Electricity tariffs, under Akufo-Addo, where we were paying e-levy at 1.5%. And they were telling us, the NDC told us that it is too much. Today, electricity tariffs have gone up in excess of 27%. That is NDC hypocrisy for you. They also came to Parliament in the dead of night to introduce the Dumso levy, which upon our scrutiny, they decided to suspend it. But again, in the dead of night, they started the implementation. So Ghanaians are being burdened with all these levies, yet they claim that they are a caring government. Let me repeat that the current stabilization rests heavily on the tight IMF conditions. And like I said, they've imposed new levies. Deep structural weakness, from inefficiencies in the energy sector to bottlenecks in agriculture, remain largely untouched. This is not transformation. It is a postponement of crisis wrapped in a polished statement. So for agriculture, let me ask our respected colleague, Eric Opoku. He is a very intelligent parliamentarian. I don't doubt his understanding of the agro sector. But talk is cheap. It is not about his talking. Today I want to ask my respected colleague, Honorable Eric Opoku, the minister responsible for agriculture, to hold a press conference and tell Ghanaians the real policies that have been introduced to help promote agriculture. There is none. In the fishery sector, the least said about them, the better. So really, this government talks so much in opposition, but in government, there is nothing they've done in the agro and the fisheries sectors to promote growth, and we see it in that field. I'm sure later Dr. I.Y. Opoku would expatiate on this with the numbers for you. Now they promised 24-hour economy. And the 24-hour economy, they said 1 job, 3 shifts. So each job will carry 3 people. And they said, oh, even if you want to do farming, there will be a system where you can farm at night. They said, oh, you can sell your watching in the night. That's what they told us. But today, after voting for them, what do we see? Even Ghanaian youth who gained employment as far back as 2017 were all sacked. When the minority introduced a motion to question the chief of staff's letter directing these mass dismissals, the first strategy that the majority deployed was to hold a preliminary objection, which the first deputy speaker came with an already prepared written ruling even before he heard the argument. And when we filed a motion for review of this repugnant ruling, Mr. Speaker found a way of denying us a voice. It is taking 8 months, an important matter that affects the livelihood of Ghanaians. And I want Ghanaian youth to hear this. Matters that would involve the restoration of their jobs. Parliament refused to give the minority a voice. They use procedure. Each time we raise it, they told us, oh, the speaker says he wants to preside himself, the speaker will preside himself. Till date, we've not been able to conclude on the debate on that motion. And Parliament is going to reconvene again on the 3rd of February 2026. We want to assure the many youths who have been rendered unemployed as a result of that letter that we will not relent. We will fight for them until they gain their employment back. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we submit further that this government has failed the Ghanaian people in the most basic duty of a modern state, to move its citizens safely and decently from one part of their own country to another. In 2026, at major terminals from Circle to Kaneshi and Medina, hundreds of Ghanaians are stranded for hours because the national fleet has collapsed from over 1,000 public buses to barely more than 100 in operation. While more than 400 Metro Mass buses rot in garages or have even been sold off as scrap, commuters are headed into overcrowded trotros or priced out by artificial scarcity, not because Ghana lacks engineers or planners, but because this administration cannot even maintain a functional public transport system and has reduced policy to press conferences while people sleep in queues. This same culture of negligence has bled into our foreign policy, where careless performative diplomacy has now helped land Ghana on a shameful list of countries whose citizens can no longer obtain immigrant visas to the United States. The US government has announced an indefinite pause on immigrant visa processing for 75 countries, including Ghana, cutting off a critical legal pathway for family reunion and skilled migration at precisely the moment our economy depends heavily on remittances from hard-working Ghanaians abroad. The United States is our single largest remittance corridor, sending between $1.5 to $2.5 billion a year into Ghanaian households. Yet through a mixture of short-sighted posture and weak consular statecraft, this government has allowed our citizens to be lumped into a penalty list that will slowly suffocate that lifeline and diminish Ghana's contribution to solving global problems. A serious government will treat our transportation system and immigrant visas as instruments of national survival, not as afterthoughts. This one has managed to trap its own people twice, stranded at home in endless, dehumanizing transport queues, and stranded behind a new wall of visa restrictions. Its diplomacy was too clumsy, too reactive, and too self-satisfied to prevent. The minority, therefore, is calling for immediate, concrete action in the transport sector, for an emergency program to restore the state bus fleet and saturate the worst-hit corridors with reliable services so that no Ghanaian is left stranded for hours simply trying to get to work or back home. On the diplomatic front, the minority has demanded the dismissal of the foreign minister and ambassador to the United States and urged the president to deploy a high-level special envoy to Washington and constitute a crisis task force to secure Ghana's prompt removal from the U.S. immigrant visa-free list and protect the billions in remittance on which millions of Ghanaian households depend. Ladies and gentlemen, public trust is further undermined by a visible pattern of selective justice. Former MPP officials have been pursued with vigor, while figures associated with the NDC facing similar questions have not attracted the same urgency. At the same time, serious concerns around financial transparency at the highest level of our monetary system have gone largely unaddressed. When the law is enforced according to political power, color, rather than evidence, we are no longer dealing with the rule of law. We are watching a performance of the rule of law, a scripted play in which the audience knows the ending before the curtain rises, but the show continues to preserve appearances. The MPP minority has resisted rushed and opaque lawmaking, including attempt to force through certain held financing measures without required parliamentary quorum. We have repeatedly insisted on transparency. These actions are not partisan games. They are necessary steps to narrow the dangerous gap between what our constitution says and how power is actually exercised. The new patriotic party, the mighty minority, has learned its lessons from defeat. We concede that we couldn't have been perfect in government. We know that there were some mistakes that were made. We take collective responsibility. Our responsibility now is deeper. And we assure Ghanaians that we in Parliament will continue to lead the charge, even as we finish our flag bearership race on 31st of January 2026. Our main task thereafter would be to win back the trust and mandate of the Ghanaian people by rallying behind our elected new leader, work hand in hand with him to go through his vision and ensure that we put forward a responsible opposition and provide alternatives. We've done it before. When the NPP was in opposition in the 90s and we finally had power in the 2000s, the people of Ghana know what the Kufuor administration did. We introduced the health insurance policy, a policy that the NDC never dreamed of, a policy that the NDC doubted, a policy that the NDC in Parliament boycotted its passage. Yet today, that is what has saved millions of Ghanaians. Again, when we were in opposition between 2009 and 2016, and we promised free SHS, the NDC told us we could not implement. The Ghana are aware that when the grace of God gave us opportunity to govern, we saw the implementation of the free SHS. However imperfect it was, the policy was implemented. Many Ghanaian youth who ordinarily could not have had an opportunity to have secondary education had the opportunity of being educated. What is left after this government had taken office is to take it to a higher level, use the opportunity created to build human resource capacity to create jobs. They've shut down the 1D, 1F policy. In its place, no alternative. So Ghanaian businesses are left in a state of uncertainty. There is no incentive for the private sector. So we ask, what is the trade minister doing? What is the trade minister doing? We can in the least describe her as a redundant minister with no policy to promote economic growth. Now let us turn to the lithium. We want to deal with the lithium agreement. When the NDC was in opposition, they questioned the lithium agreement that was before Parliament. But upon assuming office, the agreement was reintroduced in a very worse state. When the minority exerted pressure on the minister and government, they came through the back door to now withdraw the paper, the agreement, claiming that they are now going through further consultation. The question is, at the time Honorable Ama Kofi Boah was defending this new agreement on the House floor, didn't he know that he needed to do further consultation at the time that he challenged the sincerity of the minority up until civil society joined the call? Was he being fair to the people of Ghana? Was he being transparent? We reiterate again the call on the Minister of Land and Natural Resources to resign because he failed the people of Ghana. The minority interrogated the reduction in royalties from 10 to 5%. We carried the questions further regarding the lapses in the transparency of the whole agreement. He defended it, and now he came back to withdraw it. That alone amounts to a serious mischief. That alone is a policy failure that the minister cannot get away with. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now turn attention to a disturbing matter on the House floor, which we promise the people of Ghana that when Parliament commences, reconvenes on the 3rd of February, we are no more going to allow the majority to have its way. The majority has turned Parliament into a parliament of fast track and no scrutiny. A rubber stamp parliament where everything comes under certificate of urgency. They should be ready to beat us in the chamber. We will resist with all the energy in us. No more certificate of urgency. They had their way in the passage of the Gold Board law, the energy sector recovery levy, the Doomsor levy. They also introduced its certificate of urgency, and many more other laws that they pass it through certificate of urgency without any scrutiny. We hereby sound a caution to the NDC majority. If they are not ready to read, we are ready to read. We all became aware that their 189 only exists in numbers. When it comes to substance, they can't match the length of the trousers of the minority. But we all know that even in the passage of laws, when it comes to quality debates, we do proper research and we argue on facts supported with data. What they come into the chamber to do is their propaganda. But come 2026, this 2026, they will never have their way. We will hold their feet to the fire and ensure that each minister account for his stewardship. We know that 2026 budget is a chop-chop budget. We know that 2026 budget is a chop-chop budget. We are going to open our eye and scrutinize every contract, every document that goes to PPA. The minority will follow it and bring motions. And we hereby also plead with Mr. Speaker that he is doing Ghana's work and is doing the work for the growth of democracy. We are aware Mr. Speaker is an NDC leading member. But where he sits is to protect both of us. We have been frustrated by numerous dismissal of our motions. Questions are delayed. Questions are declined. Issues that must be allowed to be debated on the House floor, we see subtle culture of silence being introduced and procedural roadblocks are used to deny us opportunity. But we want to pray, Mr. Speaker, most humbly, that he should prioritize substance over form. That is a rule of equity. He should prioritize prudence over procedure and allow debate to flow. We will not sit idly by and allow the majority to use their numbers to deny us our duty in ensuring that there is proper oversight. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by promising that we will not renege on our fundamental duties to the Constitution. We will fight for the people of Ghana. And in doing so, we will not be obstructive. We will scrutinize, hold government to account, ensure that just as we did in 2025, where we brought up issues to the limelight, we're going to repeat same. And this time around, we are going to do so even as we are done with all our internal elections, that we now have a leader, and we are going to do so with a firm determination and assurance that come 2028, the NPP deserves to come back into office. This presser may not be done and done well without at least talking about this third term agenda. We are aware that Mr. President himself says he's not interested in third term agenda. But we take this opportunity to also mention to Mr. President. Now, Mr. President, we are aware that many of your party members want to put the agenda. Please tell them one more time. Maybe when you said so in Singapore, they didn't hear you. Mr. President, you haven't spoken about your non-interest in third term in Ghana. Please tell your people that you are not interested at all. They shouldn't lead you into temptation. And by the way, it is not possible. Also, we have heard that certain people have filed certain processes at the court. We also have this to tell my Lord Bafoboni. We know that this job was handed to you on a silver platter. We know that you have your masters to please. But my Lord Bafoboni, in the end, when history is being written, it will be your name. And to our judges at the Supreme Court, Ghanaians are watching how you determine the matters that are coming before you. Will question your own integrity. When you came for vetting, you made certain commitment to the people of Ghana. Ghanaians heard you. So again, the mighty minority is watching you. We will not be silenced by threat of contempt. If by criticizing the judiciary, they will march us into Insawom, we are ready to become prisoners of conscience. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold them and make a great and strong. We are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in building our motherland. We are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in building our motherland. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please resume your seat.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't say thank you enough for the wonderful submission by the leader of the mighty minority, the leader of the 87 Infantry Battalion, who will now open up the conversation to our friends from the media. If there is any question, we are ready to take. My colleague, Honorable Jerry Ahmed Shaib, will be doing the justice. If you have any concern, you raise up your hand. Here he's going to play the role of a speaker. If you catch his eye, if you catch the eye of the Member of Parliament for Wager, then we'll be able to do justice to that. So now the floor is open for our friends from the media. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kweku Sechidanso from GhanaNews.com. I just want to find out from the minority if there are plans outside of internal context to bring colleagues together, because we see what is going on, since you want to stand firm and hold government accountable. Thank you.
Next person.
Please, any other?
Yeah, brother.
You announce your media.
Leader, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Josam Ghana Page, and host of the constituency. Leader, you mentioned that Ghanaians agree with you with the quality of debate advanced on the floor of Parliament by the minority. Emphatically, you called for the dismissal of the Foreign Affairs Minister. Are there other ministers you want to see go, or is it just a dislike for the Foreign Affairs Minister? And is it not a situation where the job at hand is bigger than the labourers on the floor, regards to the number of ministers John Dramani Mahama has appointed and assisted? You also mentioned that the majority has 189. Have you already considered Adawaso East to be the majority?
Yes, any other, please? Okay.
No, three.
Please.
No, just second. There's a third one.
Okay, graphic. No, Joy, then I come to graphic.
My name is James Abeji with Joy News. On the transport crisis in Accra and the other cities, the minority leader talks about the state of the state transport system and how government is not adding up to the numbers. In our recent interview with the Metro Mass Transit boss, he talks about the fact that some of these buses that have been disposed were done under the previous government. Minority leader, I want to ask if you can give us some details about some of these decisions to dispose of some of these buses. I also know that you initiated an electric bus project before you left government to purchase about 100 buses, 10 have been brought. The status of that, is it supposed to be continued by the recent government, and if you have any updates on adding up to the numbers? Plus, if there is any solution you can prefer to government on this, thank you.
The minority leader will respond to these three questions before we take the next batch.
So let me deal with the first issue of post 31st January in Parliament. As you may be well aware, we've had a very civil engagement from Parliament. We, the 87, those colleagues who have been engaged in this discourse have done so with all civility. I want to assure you that these are internal matters. As for politics, things get heated. Soon after, we all rally behind the leader and the MPP flag to push the party agenda and to let Ghanaians know what we have for them. But you see, the NDC is busy talking about us. What they've also forgotten is that they also have a leadership contest awaiting them. And do also obi fieshe. Omo de nimpo de kankan kra. Sesi a obe hu no ase edun katia ose oko thank you to. Meanwhile no o campaign. They are hu ni say Aisa aban e ni own preferred candidate. Jubilee House for so mo candidate. O obedi flag bearer amomo na party no so one candidate. Inti enche bi ebedu omo so. But the person can say MPP there. nyame ya adom after 31st yan ye wo parliament ya wia taso se kwen bia so no ye de baako ye enka bom ebetai ne obewini n'echi na ye nyina ya boa ma party na akone kan nti no NDC for mundwe ho no mudi fi asem ya nhwe kra na ebia by mid this year Omampei Mahama eba be lame duck president because obia pay to me wo show omumu vice president also onu so be president and then I'm saying yet say onu afa haruna idrusa ya no running mate yet ya ne say chief of staff Julius Debra onu so nam ne kwan onu so be president edi onu so o say ne running mate any fifi kwete yet a majority leader onu so onam ne baby onini ablakwa omuso yo mu permutation yenua finance minister onu so omose obedi president onu so prepare no running mate nti ade no atasa wo bebia yenua erikopoku onu agric minister one kasa wo ministry okra no sika ezezo omodi mawo na wodi ye kwadwuma krom fama wo so be di president onu opinion difference between opposition and government or opposition and kati brofo akase and obedi minister sika odi be ye adwuma krampo no aya asema ma no onu so so obedi president NDC for there no ebe huhu nti omundi omufi asem na omunja ye de man back to quality of debate. Yes, I mean ladies and gentlemen of the press, I don't think that there is any debate on this matter. Check the records. We have become formidable opposition because each one of us, in fact, if you look at the first timers on our side, it's so reassuring that MPP indeed has a future. I told somebody that in future, it may be very difficult to make some selections because all of them are competent. All of them are determined. All of them have what it takes to deliver. So as for that one, it comes without question. Now, on the issue of the foreign minister, my colleague, we in the minority, we don't attack personalities. Follow the consistency in my public discourse and that of my colleagues. We don't do personality attack, no. From the vetting to the House floor to all engagement, we raise issues. How can our foreign minister have an engagement with some ambassadors, write on social media, and the next day we hear of an embargo? How can you claim that Israel deported some Ghanaians and without engaging, you also go ahead to say retaliation? You know, when we were kids, right? There were times that when somebody is provoking you, then you say that, wouldn't say wunya penny or hunti, and yes, sir. So you are careful. If our foreign minister was that measured, you would have known that attacking Israel had consequences. I'll leave it here. A word to a wise is enough. So we don't have anything personal against anybody. In serious democracies, when a policy fails, the minister resigns. How can the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources come to Parliament and to defend an agreement, only to do U-turn to withdraw it for further consultation? Any serious democracy, you have to resign. So that call on him to resign is not born out of our dislike for him. Our call on Honorable Ablakwa to resign is not born out of any dislike or any ill will. There's a clear foreign policy failure. He's not walked the path of his predecessors, who took foreign policy to higher levels. Even recently in ECOWAS, Ghana has lost out on a lot of vacancies that arose at ECOWAS, all because we thought we were eyeing an AU chair for His Excellency the President next year. What of if the countries we are relying on result? Ghana is a regular contributor. In fact, we don't fail in our contributions to ECOWAS. Go for the records. We've lost out in employment in ECOWAS. Institutional heads, 0. Main employment, technical staff, the ECOWAS civil servant. Ghana contributes so much, but we are losing out. So what does the foreign minister do? On the Metro Mass issue, we are going to call on the Minister of Transport when Parliament resumes to answer questions regarding why they sat down for a whole year without putting in place measures to beef up the fleet levels. It again exposes the minister's lack of clear vision for the transport sector. But would bid our time, put together a paper by the appropriate committee of the caucus, and hold the minister's feet to the fire when Parliament resumes. So bear with us. We want to do the right thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now we'll take the next set of questions. Okay.
Our colleague, the sector head, is here, and he would want to expatiate a bit on this. So please bear with him.
On transport. After that, you ask your question.
Before you come, since the chairman of the
Is your question related to the same? And you ask any further question?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, in the leader's presentation, I heard him accuse this government of failing to institute a properly functional state transport. But a recent report we read, during your administration...
Did he accuse them, or that's the reality?
He blamed this government.
Yes. But is that a reality or is an accusation?
So
it's a reality.
The question that he can't answer. But we all know that the problems that we are facing today in terms of Ghanaians having easy access to public transportation has existed over the years during your 8-year administration. I in Accra take public transport, and I always go through tough time as a sector getting access to public transport, and the unbearable first transport operators are charged. But you know that during your administration, there is a report that about 330 to 400 Metro Mass buses that were auctioned, some sold as cheap, as low as 2,500 some of your colleagues. Would you want to deny this report? Because if you fail to deny it, then we can also attribute the current challenge to some of your administration
Graphic, please, can you reframe your question? Why is one an accusation and one a report? You are saying that there is a report that was an option on this, and then you said the other one is an accusation. So is that one too not an accusation? That's your last sentence.
No, two issues here. The accusation is that one, the minority leader is blaming this government of failing to institute a functional state transport. As a government, we just as a party, we just exited power in 2024. We all saw that the very issue that you're accusing this government of were prevailing under your administration.
Okay, it's okay. Let him respond.
I think thank you very much. I think your question is clear. So let me respond to the earlier one with regard to the auctioning of Metro Mass buses. A lot of people don't know what goes into the processes before any bus is auctioned. Let me take my time to educate. Yes. No, in auctioning of the buses that you are talking about, before any bus is being auctioned, it has to be certified by the Board of Survey. It is not true that buses were sold at a peanut. No movable buses were sold to any cronies. It is a palpable lies which being thrown out because of the recent event that is happening under this government. They are trying to just equalize, make an equalization. So I just want to let you know that it is palpable lies. If they want any full inquiry into the matter, like the leader said, once we resume, the minority is going to call for that. And we'll have a public inquiry for Ghanaians to know the truth behind. Let us face the fact. There are challenges. Ghanaians are suffering to have, commercial transportation to their works and to travel around, and that is the most difficult thing, the problem that we have at hand. And I expect every Ghanaian to be concerned about it, to find a solution to it. We on the minority side will continue to assist the government with whatever ideas that we need to. So that is what I want to say. On the electric buses, yes, the previous government ordered 100 buses. The idea was that we want to bring 10 to try it, because that was the first time that we were adding EV buses to our fleet. So the idea was that after the 10, we'll bring back the 90. But we lost power. We were expecting this administration, this new government, to bring in the 90 buses, which already all arrangement had been done. They have decided not to bring the buses. It is up to Ghanaians to put fire on their feet and ask them why they have not brought those buses. So please, these are the facts on the ground, and I know most Ghanaians knows about it. So let us be factual about some of these matters so that we don't, in an attempt to make any equalization, we try to put out some falsehood, which at the end of the day, we will not be able to authenticate it. So that is what I want to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll take the new set of questions, the next set of questions.
Good morning. My name is My name is Maurice Amafa from Nanano Bloggers. My question is that what steps is the minority taking to address the many hospitals and other kidnappings initiated by the former government that are now been stopped?
Honorable Jerry, he's done. Yes, next step.
Thank you. My name is Adam. I work for the News Agents. Minority leader, as you said in your presentation, that the minority will resist any bill that will come under certificate of urgency. And I was wondering, because when the Pandai issue came up, even though the minority protested vehemently and even took the center stage of the chamber, but the majority was able to pass 8 estimates at that time. In spite of the chaos, in the midst of the chaos, they continued because they have the numbers. So, how serious can we take this issue? Because you could not even sustain the protest. It is only that day that you protested. The next day, you cooperated with that. How do you take it serious? Thank you.
This question, even before the minority leader came, I don't know how you are talking about resistance and then the protests on that time. We are talking about 2026. and you are talking about 2025. You are 1 year behind. So please, let's make progress.
GTV.
Thank you very much. My name is Valencia from GBC. I think my question is aligned with what my senior colleague was talking about. So in his presentation, he made mention that the minority will not allow the majority to have its way this time. So we want to find out what way or what are some of the moves we're going to do. Are you going to be working out the change like what we saw in the previous sitting, or what moves are you going to do if the majority continues government business regardless of your objection?
My sister, if you listen to my sister, Honorable Jerry, if you listen to the minority leaders very well, he said unless they beat us. So the walkout is not an option here. And you know, that's the leader. We are the whips. So come out with a strategy. But the last sitting, the certificate of agency were too many. And after that, you now see that they are coming back for amendments of the bills that they have just passed into laws because they rush it. They now realize that there are problems. They are coming with amendments. Even gold board, they will come with an amendment. Wait and see, because there are serious problems there. So that is why he is saying that we are ready to read. If they are not ready to read, we are ready to read and scrutinize every document. So rushing it, there are a lot of strategy as to how we can take it, and we understand it better than them.
This afternoon, officials of the Narcotics Control Commission rearrest Frederick Kumi, also known as Abu Trika, a suspect of wire fraud and romance scam in the U.S. after he was discharged Monday morning. Also to come this hour, Minority Caucus takes on government over credit for the recent economic gains as they provide a one-year assessment of the John Mahama administration, and they in a position. Battle lines drawn for the Ayawaso East constituency as 6 candidates pick up nomination forms to contest the NDC primaries. It's News Central, live on TV3. I'm Kemini Amano. The news starts right now. Officials of the Narcotics Control Commission have rearrested Frederick Kumi, also known as Abu Trika, a suspect of wire fraud and romance scam in the U.S. after he was discharged Monday morning by the court. Early on, the Bese District Court discharged Abu Trika and 2 alleged accomplices, Lord Eshen and Bernard Edu, after the state withdrew charges against them. They had pleaded not guilty to defrauding by false pretense and money laundering. Well, in a bit, we'll connect with our court correspondent, Lord Edu Asari. Before then, let's take a listen to counsel for one of the accused persons.
They have been discharged by the court after the state or the Attorney General withdrew the charges against them. What's your comment?
Well, that's what we've been saying from day one. The state had nothing against the 2 others. So that's what we pray for from day one. And if the Attorney General has seen light in that and done the needful, we welcome the decision of the court.
So I'm just waiting for them to actually be discharged because we realize
they've been taken back to the narcotics headquarters. I'm yet to know why they are there, but I believe it's for administrative purposes. So whatever transpires there, I'll let you know.
Okay, fine, thanks.
counsel for one of the accused persons there in a conversation with correspondent Lord Eduasare, who will join us in the TAD. But what you should know now is that NACOC has rearrested Abutrika. We know that he and 2 others were discharged by the court earlier today. Immediately after that, there were attempts to rearrest him. We know that counsel for Abutrika had posted on Facebook about how the judge was offended by that intention by NACOC to rearrest Abutrika. Also recall that NACOC is not wrong for wanting to do that. It is not against the law. But obviously, it offended the judge at the time. We would understand why that was the case when Lord joins us over the telephone at this time. But the news now is that the court just discharged them Monday morning. They were immediately rearrested, obviously, as the investigation continues. Lord Eduasare is our court correspondent. Lord, let's talk quickly about happenings in court today. Let's start off with how the judge came to discharge the 3 of them, the 3 accused persons.
Right, I mean, you recall that at the last time, the community also known as Abutrika, and then the 2 others were before the district court. The prosecution had indicated that they had withdrawn the charges against Lord Ishen and then Bernard Adu, the second and third accused persons who were the alleged accomplices of Abutrika. Now, the lawyers for the 2 prayed for their discharge, but the judge who was sitting did not grant that application, or did not grant it because she said she was just a relieving judge because the judge who actually was before the court had been on leave. So fast forward, they're actually supposed to be before the court on February 7th, but the time was abridged to today because the Attorney General had indicated that he wanted to withdraw the charges. And so he informed the court, and then the court discharged this time not just Lord Ishen and then Bernard Adu, discharged all 3 of them, means Abutrika, Lord Ishen, and then Bernard Adu. The state dropped the charges against them. Now, when this was done, they quickly dashed to the High Court because there was another application, 2 applications actually, before the High Court. Now, lawyers for Abutrika and then Bernard Adu had filed a certiorari application, and then Bernard Adu had also filed an application for him to be discharged or granted bail because at the time they were all in custody. Now, because the state has now dropped the charges against them, the lawyers came to court today to withdraw their application, saying that it had become moot considering the decision by the prosecution. And so, before the court today, lawyer for Abutrika, Oliver Bakabomao, indicated to the court that this was the situation. The Deputy Attorney General himself was in court today, and then he confirmed that yes, the charges have been dropped against Abutrika, and then the 3rd accused person, Bernard Adu, because these are the 2 applications before him. Now,
I see. Were any reasons, Lord, were any reasons given for why Abutrika's charges were also being discharged? Remember that reasons were given for why Lord Ishen and 1 other person's charges were being dropped. What does the Deputy AG say about that?
Now, conspicuously missing was any reason. There was no reason given by the Attorney General except to say that the state has withdrawn the charges against him. Now, he was treading cautiously because right after the case was done, when Abutrika was chatting with his family and then his lawyers, the NACOC officials they were outside the court premises. They came to arrest him again and then took him away. So as we speak now, Abutrika is back in custody with the Narcotics Control Commission, and we get to know whether new charges will be proffered against him because now he's been arrested again. So we get more developments on that matter because by now we do not know why the case was withdrawn and then him being rearrested. It only means that his case is particularly not over, seeing that he's still in custody. Now, the lawyers of Bernard Adu say the court that they need to know the reason why. They actually requesting from the court that they need to know the reason why their clients were still being held in custody because as they speak, he's still being held in custody at the NIB. And so he actually spoke to me early on to comment on that situation, Kemini.
Absolutely. But do tell us also what this means for the extradition process we had been told about.
Well, Kemini, we can't say if it's hanging in the balance or it will still continue, because as it stands now, Abu Trika has been rearrested by the officials of the Narcotics Control Commission. And so it means that the case is not over. Once he's still in custody, it only means that possibly the case, they're going to file another or a set of charges, or probably going to amend the charges that they withdrew early on to file new charges, and then we'll see how that will go on from there. So as we speak, the case is no longer before the Gusii District Court, but now that he has been rearrested, it's only a matter of time that they'll be back at the Gusii Court to put before any new charges against Abu Trika. What we do know, however, is that Lord Ishan and Bernard Edu, they have been discharged, but so it's only a matter of time whether we get to know whether they will also be added to any charges that the state may suffer against Abu Trika.
We'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much. Lord Iduasare is our court correspondent. We'll now turn attention to something else, because first batch of 130 nurses, midwives and mental health practitioners are departing for Antigua and Barbuda on a 3-year contract to beef up the health sector of the Twin Islands under the Ghana Labour Exchange Program. Earlier, the government of Antigua and Barbuda robustly defended its decision to recruit nurses from Ghana, describing the move as a necessary intervention to address persistent staffing shortages and burnout within the country's healthcare system. Now, Ghana is actively implementing a government-led nurse export strategy to address high unemployment among trained nurses and generate foreign revenue. The program is driven by a surplus of trained nurses, roughly some 74,000 qualified nurses unemployed in this country, and projections are that it could reach 180,000 by 2028. Kwabena Minta Akando is Health Minister. Let's take a listen to him on the subject.
Thank you very much. Ghana Labour Exchange Program is one of the interventions by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, to create more jobs for the good people of this country. And today is the turn of the health workers. As you all know, we inherited a backlog of more than 80,000 health professionals who have completed various degrees and yet are at home and do not have jobs. So as part of government's intervention to create jobs for especially the health professionals, we are exploring avenues where countries have requested our health professionals to work with them. Today it's about Antigua. We are working on Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad. And so we'll be doing that in batches. So today we are here to say goodbye to you, but we'll be following your progress with keen interest. And as you are going, you must be reminded of the fact that you are carrying the flag of Ghana. And therefore, we wish that you will go and work with diligence and professionalism. Those of you who are at home watching us, I'm very hopeful that it will get to your turn. Usually, the debate has been the fact that we do not have health workers in our various health facilities, but we are exporting health workers. That is not it. The availability of health professionals in this country is not a problem. As I've already indicated, we have excess. We have inherited about 80,000 health professionals. But as you all know, we have a country to govern, and at every point in time, our budget can absorb a certain proportion of them. And so as government is looking at absorbing some internally in-country in our various health facilities, we are also exploring other avenues outside the country. I thank
Kwabena Minta Akando is Health Minister. We'll now hear from some of the beneficiary health workers.
Honestly, I'm extremely excited. I have tried all means of traveling outside Ghana, and I've been rejected. So when I had the opportunity and I went for the interview and I passed through, it has become something else for me. I'm very happy about it. Thank you.
And to this very program, do you know about the country?
Not at all. I have never heard it. before I went for the interview, I had never heard Antigua before. But through a friend who posted it to me that they are recruiting nurses, and I'm nurse anesthetist, so I took the opportunity to go for the interview.
So when you look out for the country, what did you see? What excited you?
I read about it. They have about 360 beaches, and there's a carnival. Yeah, the place is very nice, and best of it all, the money is also good. So I'm hoping I can bring something home for my family members to be happy too.
So which field are you?
I'm a nurse anesthetist.
Well, I think it's an opportunity. As nurses, we are being exported out there to give a face-off of what Ghana is training us to be. Actually, Ghana has been noted to be one of the countries with the best healthcare workers, and the fact that you've been deployed to go, personally, it's a privilege for me, and I'm really grateful that I had this opportunity.
So which field are you in?
I'm actually in the nursing field. I'm a general nurse.
So
yes,
this is your first time flying?
Yes, please. Yes, this is my first time traveling. Yeah, well, it's very exciting. Looking at the kind of people I have around, the professionals you are moving in, and the opportunities this might bring us all is something I can really be proud of. Yeah.
George Queenan is our reporter on the story. George, what else did the minister say about this exchange program?
Yeah. Camille, thank you so much. So there are some concerns that Ghana is actually exporting, health professionals at the expense of Ghana's health sector. But the minister says that's not what it is. The government came to inherit some 80,000 nurses who are unemployed and have their degrees after pursuing their tertiary education. And so exchange programs like this is how governments can actually keep employment with these people. So the resources is what we don't have, but we have availability of nurses. So the issue is not about availability. We have the numbers, but it's the resources. So this is something that is going to benefit Ghana. And he didn't really put the monetary value up front, but Ghana is actually making something out of this very exchange program. And these nurses are very excited. I know two persons that said they've tried traveling out of the country for many times. It didn't work out. So this is a good opportunity for them. They will make sure once they go there, they will serve Ghana well. Because at the end of the day, if they do their best, it will give others opportunities to also come there. People who also want to be in their shoes. Because there are lots of people out there. The minister says countries like Jamaica and Barbados are next destinations that these nurses will be going to. So after this very one, the next batches will be going to Jamaica and Barbados.
I see, George, did the minister explain how this foreign revenue will be gained from exporting, these nurses?
I mean, he didn't tell me that. He didn't tell me that. But I also spoke to the Minister for Special Initiatives. And apart from health professionals that are being sought after, we have artisans that are being sought after from countries like Germany and Venezuela. So they're also doing their best to ensure that they get the right people who will go and get these jobs. Because if they go there, they will enrich themselves. And when they come back here, whatever they learned would also be transferred to people that will also want to also be like them. So it's holistically, it's something that is going to benefit Ghana according to both ministers. And hopefully, whatever we are due, we get it.
Those beneficiary nurses, what are some of the things that they've been saying? We know you engaged them because we listened to a couple earlier. Okay,
so according to one lady that I spoke to, she's 43 years, she's a nurse anesthetist, and she's tried applying to countries for a very long time. It has not worked out. But she actually went to Saudi Arabia, and for her, most of the things that they desire has been provided by the country. But in Ghana, nurses even have to pay for services when they go to hospitals. Even drivers of health institutions are paying. It's something that they don't want. This is a good opportunity. They're going out of Ghana, but we should try and then sort issues or challenges that are developing in the country. So Ghana should use this opportunity to solve all of these, the job and employment. Even nurses' salary should not be less than 5,000. Because in Saudi Arabia, she was taking almost 25,000. Even where she's going to now, the money is good. In the next 3 months, she expects to make some good money. But one thing is that this very contract is subject to renewal, and there's some sort of secondment. So even after 10 years in Antigua, you can come back. The job is secured in the Ghana Health Service Academy.
I see. So, George, how were these health workers selected?
So 130 of them you apply, and then there's this local interview when you finish when you qualify to the next one, then there's an interview internationally. That is from the country itself. So it's a local one, and there's an international. So there were 2 interviews that were conducted. So if you want to be, the eligibility that you should be a health professional, and your service should be more than 5 years. If you're unemployed, this is the first time, it will be very difficult because this very country needs people who have experience. And that can really change their sector. So with more than 5 years experience, you can qualify for applying for such of this program.
I appreciate you, George. Thank you so much. George Queenan is our he is our correspondent on the story about the export of some 130 health workers, nurses and midwives, to be precise, to Antigua and Barbuda. But like one of those beneficiary nurses, many of you perhaps do not know where Antigua and Barbuda is located. I want to show you that. I've got you covered. Let's take a look at that now. This is where it is, somewhere in the Caribbean, as you can see on your screen right here. The red mark there, Antigua and Barbuda. In reference to Ghana, where will Ghana be? This is Antigua, Barbuda, obviously on the other side of the ocean, very far away from home. But that's where some 130 nurses will be going sometime soon. Now, this is an independent Commonwealth country comprising its 2 namesake islands and several smaller ones positioned where the Atlantic and the Caribbean meet, and it's known for reef-lined beaches. Remember, one of the nurses said, I had Googled this and I saw the beaches, they were so beautiful, and that's why she wants to go there. She's very happy about it. But there it is. It's known for its English harbour, which is known as a yachting hub, and the site of historic Nelson's Dockyard. It is the capital. Its capital is St. John's, where the National Museum displays indigenous and colonial artifacts. But in reference to Ghana, what does Antigua look like, sound like? What should we know about this country? I want to show you a bit more because, as you very well heard me earlier, this is known as the Twin Island Nation in the Eastern Caribbean, in the Leeward Islands of the Lesser Antille Sea, lying east-southeast of Puerto Rico. The total land area is about 443 kilometers square. Obviously, Ghana is a bigger place than this is. The population is under 130,000, and Antigua is home to approximately 98% of the people, while Barbuda is much less populated. Also note, I'm not trying to say Bermuda. It is Barbuda, all right? So there you have it. 130 nurses going to the Twin Island Nation. We'll follow the story and let you know how it plays out. Let's bring you stories from your election command center. Former Speaker of Parliament and founding member of the opposition NPP, Professor Michael Quay, says committees responsible for disciplining individuals who flout party regulations are already inviting individuals. This comes days after intense exchange of words among the flag-bearer aspirants and their supporters ahead of the NPP's presidential primary this weekend. Professor Michael Quay spoke to TV3.
Those are internal documents. In fact, some people have even asked why we, as a committee, did not make copies available to certain personalities in the party. But it was not meant so to be. That is why we reported to the National Council of the party, the highest decision body outside conference. When we report to them, we have washed our hands of it. And they've started implementing some areas, and they are going to implement more in due course, which we quietly are observing. Nobody ever publishes such reports. They are not meant for the public. The NDC never has. The MPP will not do so. Why? Because those who commission, you report to them, and they use aspects as they think fit to improve upon situations.
Now, Ghana is considering extending the deployment of its troops to Jamaica beyond the initial 60-day period as more work remains in the country's reconstruction efforts. A recent visit by Ghana's foreign minister and the deputy defense minister revealed that the troops have so far rebuilt about 26 affected buildings, with many more awaiting repairs. Let's listen to the foreign minister, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, and the deputy defense minister.
Heroic exploits here in Jamaica will always be etched in the annals of Ghana-Jamaica solidarity. And President Mahama wants you to know that as Commander-in-Chief, he will always be proud of this moment, and he will make sure that you are befittingly rewarded when you return to Ghana. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when this deployment was discussed, we anticipated that it would be a 1-month deployment, not to go beyond 30 days. But here we are. We have gone beyond those 30 days. We have done 6 weeks already. And from all indications, you are not in a hurry to leave. And I ask my counterpart, the distinguished foreign minister of Jamaica, are you comfortable with the February 15th proposed exit? And she tells me, we have to discuss further. You are welcome. The distinguished foreign minister of Jamaica, are you comfortable with the February 15th proposed exit? And she tells me, we have to discuss further. You are welcome to stay beyond the 15th of February. So, judging from her body language and the way she is not in a hurry to dispatch you, you may just want to stop looking at that 15th February calendar. I will not be surprised at all if there...
And as our Chief of Army Staff stated, we'll be discussing whether or not it is necessary to extend their stay, and that discussion we'll have with you. But it is the wish of a commander-in-chief that if our troops are still needed, we are willing to let them stay for additional month if you need them to work. Secondly, I wish to remind our troops that what they are currently doing here, we may think that they are reconstructing homes, but we know that they are building lives as well, because the more houses they bring back, the more comfortable the people feel.
Now, the Chief of Defense Staff has called for initiation of bilateral defense relations with Jamaica's defense force to build institutional capacity. Speaking during the same visit to Jamaica, the Chief of Army Staff said such a partnership would significantly enhance knowledge sharing, particularly in the area of disaster management.
This is the time you have to prove yourself as a professional soldier
and let the Ghanaian soldierly character show in this place. One striking significance of your operation here that I note is your joint operation with the Jamaica Defense Force. I have been on a number of operations, specifically peace support operation. Some part of our attacks in the course of peace support operation entail some of these emergency interventions. But this is the first time that I can note and record that the personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces are jointly operating with the armed force of another country together as a unified force. Because from your presentation, you created how the team works. If it is Jamaica heavy generator, if it is Ghana heavy Ghana generator, and that is very unique. Maybe ministers, when we get back, I'll be making a submission that this operation creates the situation where we should initiate some military or defense bilateral initiative with the Jamaica Defense Force.
You're watching News Central live on TV3. When we come back, I'll take you to Ayawaso East constituency, where 2 more people have thrown their hats in the ring for the NDC Parliamentary primary. That's coming up on the other side. Do stay. Welcome back to News Central. We'll now take you to Parliament, where the Minority Caucus has been presenting their own assessment of the year-on-year administration of the John Mahama-led administration. Leader of the Minority Caucus, Alexander Afenyo-Marking, has been speaking on this subject matter. Let's take a listen. Well, before then, we'll connect with Christian Yale, who is our correspondent in Parliament, for a bit more on what the minority leader has been sharing with the press. Christian, what has he been saying? Oh, it appears we do not have Christian yet. The minority leader has been addressing the press, by extension, the nation on a number of issues, first tackling governance, the economy, leadership style in Parliament itself, talked about some key bills, including the family and proper, the anti-LGBTQ law as well, and asking why it hasn't been passed and wondering why the NDC is not moving as fast as they asked them to do when they were in government. It's talking about a raft of issues. We'll connect with Christian shortly and bring you a bit more of that. In the meantime, we'll turn attention to the Ashanti region because fire has ravaged several shops and garage vehicles at Shufo Line. That's coming up in Regional Hub.
The fire started at around 8 p.m. Sunday night. Scores of shops lighted, fleet of garaged vehicles engulfed. Some of the artisans tried to move few to safety. It was a difficult situation. Firefighters will do everything possible to bring the situation under control. A moment of anxiety and anguish as shop owners watched their wares reduced to ashes. A depressed woman passed out. Desperation as fire tenders move in turns to replenish and fight the inferno. It was a long night.
Now, some residents of Chirano in the Bibiani and Riaso Bekwai municipality of the Western North region have rejected a proposed community mining initiative in the area by a private company. The residents held a press conference to prevent any move to mine in the area, certain that their farmlands and only source of water could be destroyed.
At a press conference, the leaders of the community stressed that Boao Mine Cooperative Mining has not successfully reached any consultation agreement with the people. They explained that although Boao Mine met with the community at the Omahini's palace, where discussions were held, no agreement was reached. According to the leaders, they were later surprised to hear reports in the media claiming that the community had agreed to the consultation. An assertion they insist is false.
Chiefs and elders of the Uchirano, the Omahin, the municipal chief executive, the Boao Mine Cooperative Mining Management, and media men met the people of Chirano at the Omahin's palace to engage in a thorough discussion over the so-called community or responsible mining at the Supre Stream area. Upon this discussion, the indigents rejected to this idea of community mining at the Supre Streamland area to take place at Sehichirano. 3 days after this community engagement, it came to the news that the people of Chirano have agreed that the community mining should take place at the Supre Streamland area, which is not true. We are saying it is not true.
Enti ejira ha yesre President Mahama
ɛne mpanimfo a ɛwɔ ɔman mu atitire nyinaa members of parliament sɛ yɛnsuo no so ɔmo sɛe no a yɛhɔ bɛkyere yɛn
ɔmanpanini yɛsrɛw sɛ sɛ yɛayɛ ne baabia fa te sɛ kyerɛ no ha yɛti nko a yɛnsuo baako pɛ aka ne suupra no ɛhɔ na yɛfa yɛ kookoo yɛfa bɔɔdeɛ yɛfa nnoɔma bi afire na sɛ si a wo se yɛmɛyɛ ne maani bɛyɛ dan na yɛnso yɛdidi.
In fact, you all know that when you go to school, the only thing they tell you is agriculture is the backbone of our economy. Let's ask of ourselves, the only land that we have it over there is where they are going to what? Mine. And in fact, we have any access on everything. But you see, one particular thing you should understand is that our land called Supre is now producing a fertile land for us. And most of us here in this community are what? Farmers. So you can't just leave that land for them to mine.
Meanwhile, the manager of Buau Mine Cooperative Mining has denied claims that the company intends to engage in illegal mining. He explained that the group is a registered cooperative operating under the cooperative mining model launched by the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. He further stressed that the cooperative is properly registered and is therefore ready to engage the community peacefully to reach an agreement. He reiterated that community members stand to benefit from activities that will take place in the area.
We are glad to say that we've heard from our own people, the people of Chirano, this afternoon, that they have expressed their grievances through press conference that we, the organization Buau Mine, is coming to destroy their lands, disturb their river bodies, and we have engaged with the chiefs and some elders of Chirano. We want to state the record straight that such thing has never been done to the disadvantage of the community. We've not had any clandestine meeting with any leaders or chiefs to suggest that we are coming to do something or mining in the community without the engagement of the entire community. If you will recall that on 25th December 2025, we came to the management of Buau Mine together with the municipal chief executive, came to Chirano Township to hold public forum. In fact, it was not a clandestine meeting. The meeting was held at the chief's palace. We invited people, community members came, they asked questions. So the allegation that we've met some elders and some chiefs and we've done business to the disadvantage of the community, it is never true. As we speak now, we've not finished the engagement with the chiefs, and nobody has shown us even where we are going to work. We don't know the lands, the communities where will be given to us. So the idea that we are going to destroy their river bodies, it is not true. I myself, as a manager, I don't know anywhere the river is. Buau Mine is a company registered in Ghana under the laws of Ghana. We registered the company on 14th May 2025. We, Buau Mine Cooperative Mining, we have good intentions to help the communities that will be working. We have decided that we are going to train the youth as spelled out in the policy, the responsible and
The new market traders in the Ketu South municipality are appealing to authorities to take steps to address incessant vehicular traffic on the market stretch by providing a parking lot for commercial drivers. According to these traders, indiscriminate parking results in congestion, which is affecting trading activities. For more, I'll bring in now Faisal Abdul-Idrisu, who's been reporting on the situation there at the Denu market. Faisal, what else can you tell us about the situation there? Any new updates?
Well, Kamini, the Denu market is a major trading center, and the market is located on the Keta Aflao stretch. And so, because of the growing population in the market, trading activities have now moved to the shoulders of the road, making the path a very narrow path. So on regular market days, when you go there, you realize that vehicles that are bringing in traders, vehicles that are plying the route, are either using the space as a parking lot or are dropping off passengers. And within time, when you go there, particularly today is a market day, when you get there now, the place is congested. The about 400 meters stretch we are talking about, if you are stuck in there, you are stuck in traffic there, it can take you close to 30 minutes to be able to move across that stretch alone. What commercial traders are saying is that the situation at this particular section of the road is affecting their sales. So every now and then, you would observe that they are either fighting the drivers, or at one point in time, you find people involved in some form of chaos. Last week, there were issues between the drivers and the traders on the stretch again. They are calling the assembly to act quickly. The authorities are saying that there has already been a designated point for vehicles as a parking lot, but they are not using it. The vehicles are also picking passengers on the road. Traders themselves have also moved to the road, and this is exactly where the problem is coming from. So the assembly this morning, the latest update is that they are going back there to ensure that the drivers go back to the designated point for their loading. Then the traders who are also plying their trade along the road are pushed back to the market. But if you don't mind, we can listen to exactly the concerns they had earlier raised.
It's now congested. We know how place to park, we know how place to load, but we are paying we are paying our tax already. We are paying every day. We are paying our tax. So we go to the assembly. Assembly tell us that it's going to give us a place to load. About 2 years now, they are not giving any place. They are not giving any place at all. We are still turning here, fighting with the roadside. Every day fighting. The sellers too. They say they are not going to agree. We go load for their storm off. Always fighting. Police station. Recently, they go and put me for counterback. Recently, they go and put me on the counterback. But the way they are working, we are not putting the money inside our pocket. Some is going to the governor. You see, so we are appealing to the government or assembly to give us the place quick so that we move here.
This is a main road to Keta and Agronga. But during market days, especially market days, you see drivers are loading, double parking here. They've created their own station. Twice they have been loading day in, day out. They will be loading both sides here and there. So it has been creating accidents all the time. You will see that this place is very choked and congested. No space for people to be moving up and down.
Drivers have refused to use their parking lots, and they prefer to block our view. And I had to go to the police to make them use their parking lots and run shifts so that they give us also space to do our.
Faisal, we know that traders are asking for intervention from municipal authorities, and you are there now. What are they telling you?
The MC indicated to us that a parking lot had earlier been designated for the drivers. They abandoned it and applying their trade along the market. The market women themselves are not supposed to be selling on the shoulders of the road, but they have moved there. So the assembly says they are going in there, push the traders back into the market. There's enough space for them to occupy. Then the drivers will be shown the very parking lot they had earlier designated so that this issue of congestion and the incessant vehicular traffic on the stretch will be addressed. The MC told us that he will be moving in. Surely they have already been there to engage them, and so they will be taking action in no course.
I see we'll leave it here for now. Thank you so much for talking to us. Faisal Abdulajusu, Alberta Region Correspondent. Now, the Eastern Region House of Chiefs have expressed concern over rising incidents of antisocial vices and irresponsible mining in that region. President of the House, Nene Sakite, describing the situation as worrying, called for active involvement of traditional leaders in finding lasting solutions at this review meeting in Koforidua.
The review meeting by the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs focused on emergent challenges confronting the region and explored possible solutions. Addressing the House, the regional president, Nenesakitse II, stressed the need to intensify fights against drug abuse, cybercrime, and irresponsible mining, among other social challenges.
Several of these vices are illegal mining, also known as galamsey, abuse of drug substances by the youth, then cyber crimes and emerging kidnapping. It remains my firm belief that our traditional rulers have complemented governments pre-independence and post-independence and can still help in the fight against some of these vices.
He also appealed for road networks to be fixed and infrastructure enhanced across the region.
We wish to remind government that there exist some infrastructural defects which needs urgent attention and must be attended. Some abundant road projects are very dusty and polluting the environment, and it is terrible and hazardous. Nananu maintained their resolve to keep peace of the region to propel development.
On chieftaincy disputes, 5 cases have been disposed while 2 are with injunction. The Eastern Regional Minister, Rita Ejay Awate, acknowledged the critical role of traditional authorities in addressing the region's challenges. Reacting to infrastructural demands, she assured the chiefs that works is in progress for road projects and other educational facilities within the region.
Under our government Big Push agenda, the Eastern region is witnessing renewed momentum of developments, both on roads, in health, in education, and infrastructure. On roads, critical inter-district, inter-regional links are being upgraded to ensure that farmers do not cry at their farm gates. We are building 3 schools per municipal or districts, giving us 33 schools in all the region.
We'll return to Parliament now, where Christian Yade has been sitting through a Minority Caucus news conference where they've been presenting their own assessment of the John Mahama administration 1 year on. We'll connect now with Christian for a bit more on this story. Christian, we know that this news conference was addressed by the Minority Leader Alexander Penyomarkin. What did he say?
Government on in the past 1 year. And Kamini, I will just quickly run you through some of the major highlights of what the minority has been saying over the past 2 hours. First, they begin by talking about Ghana's economic fortunes, as it were, and what they think is the effect of the ongoing IMF program as well as the windfall. The minority leader is of the view that Ghana's current economic fortunes are not out of anything called re-engineering by the current, managers of the economy, but it is due to the IMF program as well as the windfall. Now he goes ahead to tie that to the losses recorded under the Good for Reserves program, which is another issue that he spent some remarkable time on, talking about the fact that when you look at the $214 million losses made under the Good for Reserves program, as well as the dealings of Gold Board and Good for Oil, all of these are currently amounting to some financial losses to the state, and he has charged the Bank of Ghana to, as a matter of fact, come back clean on these issues. Kemini, he also touches on the anti-LGBTQ bill and accuses NDC of double standards. The minority leader is of the view that NDC used the anti-LGBTQ bill in the past to win power. Now that they are in government, they are running away from the reality and failing to pass this law. And he cites the recent teacher manual, which was published by the National Curriculum for the National Council for Curriculum Assessment, NACA, and the fact that he's of the view that even the government as of now is attempting to rope gender issues and anti-LGBTQ issues into the education sector. So this makes three, but he also touches on the tour of the Chief Justice and asks one particular question as to whether the CJ is embarking on a thank you tour to thank government for appointing him. He says that, in his own words, the CJ was appointed on a silver platter. And so he's of the view that his visit to the police, to the presidency, and today we know that he is called on the Speaker of Parliament, all of these are amounting to a thank you tour. And he says something remarkable, that the minority does not regard the Chief Justice as being, a tolerant leader of the judiciary. But Kemini, he has also touched on the public transportation crisis, which we here on TV3 have been undertaking that campaign seriously over the past 2 weeks, that government has failed yet again in ensuring that there is a maintained and effective public transportation system. He mentions, for instance, the e-buses that the previous government had wanted to procure and the few that were brought, and the fact that this government failed to even bring more of those buses and has also failed to maintain the Metromass buses. But yet again, he's of the view that the Foreign Affairs Minister, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has not handled the issue of the U.S. immigration visa cut very well, and is asking government to, as a matter of urgency, dispatch a high-level delegation to Washington to negotiate with U.S. authorities to reverse this decision of including Ghana in the U.S. immigrant visa cut. And he is of the view that the minority from this, parliament, or once parliament resume, they are not going to allow the majority to have their view or to have their way. They are not going to allow them to use their numbers to bully them. He is of the view that the minority would hold government to account and avoid or stop rushing of the passage of bills like they used to see in the past parliament or in the recent meeting, which was called to recess. But also there is that bit about the Lithium agreement, and also reiterating their call for the minister to resign for failing to, ensure a fair and a transparent deal for the country, and ends by asking the president to not allow members of the National Democratic Congress to lead him into temptation to attempt to come for a third term. He is of the view that that is not possible. So, Kemini, these are the major highlights of the things that the Minority Caucus and the leader, Alexander Fion-Markin, have been talking about today. He briefly touches on the upcoming parliamentary or the flag bearer race of the NPP, and even says that when you look at all the wranglings and the tours that various bigwigs in the NDC are embarking on, it is even possible that the NDC's flag bearer race is going to be even more chaotic in its own terms as compared to what the NPP is currently experiencing. This is what the minority has been saying so far, and their assessment and scrutiny of Parliament and of the government in the past 1 year in office. Back to you in studios.
Well, Christian Yale with that report. Away from Parliament, 6 aspirants have picked nomination forms to contest the NDC parliamentary primary in Ayawaso East ahead of the March 3rd by-election. They include the party's constituency chairman, Mohammed Rami, Hajia Amina Adam, wife of the late Member of Parliament, Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria, Baba Jamal, and Dr. Yakubu Azindo. The seat became vacant following the sudden demise of Muhammad Nasir Toure in early January of 2026, triggering a by-election scheduled for Tuesday, March 3, 2026. For the NDC, Ayawaso East is more than a constituency. It is an impenetrable Zango fortress that has never fallen into the opposition since the 1992 democratic transition. There will be more on that story in later broadcasts. Our correspondent Crosby Annan is on the ground. Right now, however, news just coming in. 3 prominent figures of the NPP, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo, and Dr. Christine Amwako Nuyama, have invoked the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to challenge the internal voting structures of Ghana's major political parties. Now, the plaintiffs, through their counsel, Oliver Barker-Vormawor, are seeking a true and proper interpretation of the 1992 Constitution regarding how political parties elect their presidential and parliamentary candidates. Now, reliefs being sought by the plaintiffs include the lawsuit targets the NPP, NDC, CPP, the Electoral Commission, and the Attorney General. Now, take note of that. And it argues that current delegate-based systems are exclusionary. The specific reliefs include declaration of core elements, a declaration that electing candidates is a core element of a party's internal organization under Article 55(5) of the 1992 Constitution, equal participation rights, a ruling that party structures must ensure equal political participation and equal voting rights for all members in the selection of candidates. Read more on that story on 3news.com. Here on News Central, that will be all. I'll see you same time tomorrow. My name is Kemini Amano. Next is The Afternoon Show. Bye-bye.
왜 그렇게 예민한데?
지금 예민한 건 너잖아. 내가 그런 말도 못해?
그런 말 안 하는 게 우리 방식 아니야?
They say love always finds a way. But what if love is lost before it's found?
나 우리 시간 좀 갖자.
In a world full of chances, will love survive?
우리 원래 연애를 할 때는 상대방 취향도 존중해주고 그래야 된다.
A story of missed moments, broken hearts, and one last chance at love.
너 그 20살 때 만난 아저씨가 너무
그런 거 아니야. Not Found Love, showing on TV3 Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 4 p.m.
Give them the